The dark psychology of manipulation. Have you ever trusted someone so completely that you never questioned their intentions? Maybe they seemed kind, supportive, or even protective. But over time, something felt wrong. You started doubting yourself, apologizing for things you didn't do, or constantly trying to earn their approval. The frightening truth is that manipulation doesn't always look aggressive. It often hides behind kindness, charm, affection, or concern. The most effective manipulators rarely force people to obey them. Instead, they influence emotions, shape decisions, and slowly gain control without their victims even realizing what's happening. Today, we're going to uncover the dark psychology of manipulation, not to teach you how to manipulate others, but to help you recognize these behaviors and protect yourself. Once you understand these psychological patterns, you'll begin noticing them in everyday life, whether at work, in friendships, relationships, or even on social media. Let's begin. Manipulation is the act of influencing someone's thoughts, emotions, or actions through deception, pressure, or emotional tactics instead of honest communication. A manipulator doesn't always tell obvious lies. In many cases, they simply control the information you receive or make you question your own judgment. One reason manipulation is so effective is because the human brain naturally seeks acceptance. We all want to be liked, respected, and valued. Manipulators understand these emotional needs and use them to their advantage. One of the most common manipulation tactics is guilt. Imagine a friend asking for a favor. You politely refuse because you're busy. Instead of respecting your decision, they say, "After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me." Suddenly, you're no longer thinking about your schedule. You're thinking about proving you're a good friend. This is emotional pressure disguised as disappointment. Healthy people respect boundaries. Manipulative people make you feel guilty for having them. Another powerful tactic is excessive praise at the beginning of a relationship. Sometimes, a person showers someone with constant compliments, expensive gifts, endless attention, and promises about the future almost immediately after meeting them. At first, it feels wonderful. But later, the attention suddenly disappears unless the other person behaves exactly as expected. This creates emotional dependence. Instead of feeling loved, the person becomes anxious, constantly trying to regain the affection they once received. Real trust grows slowly. Healthy relationships are built over time. Manipulation often moves much faster. Another dangerous tactic is making people doubt their own memory or perception. Suppose someone clearly insults you. When you confront them, they smile and say, "You're imagining things, I never said that." After hearing this repeatedly, many people begin questioning themselves. Maybe I misunderstood. Maybe I'm too sensitive. This confusion makes it easier for the manipulator to avoid responsibility while gaining more psychological control. When someone repeatedly dismisses your reality instead of discussing it honestly, it's important to pause and trust objective facts rather than emotional pressure. Silence can also become a weapon. Sometimes, after a disagreement, one person refuses to communicate for days. They ignore messages, avoid conversations, and pretend the other person doesn't exist. The goal isn't solving the problem. The goal is creating anxiety. Eventually, the other person apologizes simply to end the emotional discomfort, even if they did nothing wrong. Healthy people use silence to calm down before talking. Manipulative people use silence to control behavior. Another tactic involves creating constant self-doubt. Some manipulators rarely give direct compliments. Instead, they criticize small things over and over. They compare you with others. They make jokes about your appearance, intelligence, or abilities and then say, "Relax, I was only kidding." Over time, confidence slowly disappears. A person with low confidence becomes easier to influence because they begin relying on someone else for approval. Confident people make independent decisions. Insecure people often seek permission. That is exactly what many manipulators want. Manipulation is not limited to personal relationships. It also appears online. Fake urgency, misleading headlines, emotional stories designed to make people react without thinking. The internet is full of psychological triggers that encourage instant decisions. That's why critical thinking is one of the strongest forms of self-defense. Whenever someone pressures you to act immediately, pause, take a moment, think carefully. Manipulation loses much of its power when emotions no longer control your decisions. So how can you protect yourself? First, pay more attention to actions than words. Anyone can make promises. Consistent behavior reveals true character. Second, don't feel guilty for saying no. Healthy relationships allow disagreement without punishment. Third, trust your instincts but verify them with facts. If something feels wrong repeatedly, don't ignore it simply because someone seems charming. Fourth, avoid making important decisions under emotional pressure. Manipulators often create urgency because they don't want you to think clearly. Give yourself time. Clear thinking is your greatest protection. Finally, build confidence from within. People who know their values and respect their boundaries are much harder to manipulate. The strongest defense against manipulation isn't becoming suspicious of everyone. It's becoming aware. Awareness gives you the ability to recognize unhealthy patterns before they become dangerous. Remember, not everyone who disagrees with you is manipulating you, and not every misunderstanding is psychological abuse. Healthy relationships include mistakes, honest conversations, accountability, and mutual respect. Manipulation is different because it is a repeated pattern of controlling another person's thoughts or behavior through emotional pressure rather than honesty. The most dangerous manipulators don't always look dangerous. They may appear intelligent, kind, helpful, even loving. That's why appearances alone can never tell the full story. Knowledge is your greatest defense. The more you understand human psychology, the more difficult it becomes for anyone to control your emotions or decisions. If this video helped you see manipulation in a new way, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who believes that understanding psychology is the first step toward protecting yourself. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.